I'm Dr. Shawn Tassone. Welcome to Confessions of a Male Gynecologist, a podcast dedicated to women's health and hormones, and pretty much everything else you were never listened to when you went to the doctor's office. I'm board certified in OBGYN and integrative medicine, and I have a PhD in mind-body medicine. I guess you could say I'm a little bit outside of the box. In this podcast, I'm going to get you the answers you probably asked 5 other doctors and were kind of blown off. I want you to know that I'm not only here to talk, I'm here to listen as well. And now, let's get to those confessions. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Confessions of a Male Gynecologist. I'm Shawn Tassone, OBGYN, integrative medicine specialist, board certified in obstetrics and gynecology, and integrative medicine. I also have a PhD in philosophy, which maybe many of you didn't know. Suffice it to say, it was part of my personal journey that I got in 2015. And in that PhD, I kind of traveled around and learned healing from different cultures, and I've kind of incorporated that into my practice, which is mainly hormones. I'm licensed in 46 states in the United States. So if you aren't getting the help that you need and you think you need hormone help, give me a call, 512-956-0296. I can see you via telemedicine. And usually I only check base, we get your labs, we can order labs anywhere. We look at estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, DHEA, thyroid panel, vitamin D, get you on a good program, and then you have to check in with me every 6 months. I also am the author of the Hormone Balance Bible. It's 12 of the most common hormonal imbalances in women across the spectrum of age. We talk about those imbalances in terminology that tells stories, and I have a 6-step process called the Shines Protocol that is spiritual practices, hormones, infoceuticals, nutrition, exercise, and supplements to help you just have all those options that nobody else has given you before. So with that, this episode, I wanted to talk about what a holistic gynecologist really thinks about apple cider vinegar, seed cycling, and some of these TikTok trends. I want to try to stay relevant and talk to you about the things that you're seeing on YouTube and, TikTok and all these places. I mainly hang out on Instagram at Shawn Tassone MD. You can follow me where I talk about things all the time. I debunk myths. I talk about different hormones. But for a minute, let's cut through the noise of social media and all these crazy biohacking health hacks by explaining what actually works, what doesn't, and why women need more science and less hype when it comes to these wellness trends. Have you ever heard of apple cider vinegar shots or seed cycling for your hormones? TikTok is telling you all these things that are a cure-all. And then if you comment seed cycling or if you comment ACV, you'll get their brochure, and then they're going to try to sell you something. But what actually works? What actually doesn't just lighten your wallet and actually does something for your health? I want to talk about some myth busting. And whenever I do this, whenever I talk about myths and stuff, there's always people that get bent out of shape. Oh, you're just being negative. Oh, you never say anything positive. But the reality is I do promote things that work. I talk about dihydroberberine all the time. I talk about maca. And I really vet these products. And when they say things like FDA researched or they say scientifically backed ingredients, that's total BS. That is a marketing term that means absolutely nothing to you. And whenever companies do stuff like that, it shows you that they're basically marketing to you. So I want to cut through the marketing and I want to talk to you about some of these trends that either work or don't work and which ones are lightening your wallet and not really doing you a whole lot. So let's talk about the rise of some of these TikTok trends. Why are these trends so appealing? Well, they know these people, because I know a lot of these people. I've been to the masterminds. I've been to work. I know some of them personally, and I'm not saying that anybody's bad or good or whatever, but they learn how to market. They learn what works. They hire marketing teams around them to maximize their SEO or their search engine optimization online. They know the words, they know the phraseology, and they know how to hook you by using these terms to trick you in some ways into buying a product. And, if you look at a lot of these products online, most of them will have a 30-day money back guarantee. The problem is supplements don't usually work in 30 days. Most of them take about 2 to 3 months for you to really notice an issue, if it helps or not. And so you can't get your money back, or they won't respond to you, or they'll you're past the 30 days. So it's all marketing. And everybody, for some reason, wants to go natural, whether it's for your hormones and natural. If you think about it, where did a lot of these things come from? Well, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, it's all made from wild yam or soy. So they're natural, if you think about it. Most of the medicines on the market, from certain chemotherapeutic agents to blood pressure meds, they come from plants, trees, roots, all kinds of things. But medicine, in all of its money, but it's also intelligent, has isolated the ingredient from that plant that actually works. Unfortunately, what they do is they super concentrate it, and that's when you'll get side effects. And sometimes it is actually better to use the whole plant, but you're not going to get the same kick from a supplement that you would from an actual medication. The problem is there's a great oversimplification of these trends and in women's health. So what they'll do is they will use terminology for you like what your doctor didn't know, or this thing can fix this, or blah, blah, blah. You've heard it all. You've been marketed to a million times. And they oversimplify it. Like they'll say, oh, this supplement helps with, and they'll look on Google. Google will tell them what are the current trends, what words are being searched. So they know insomnia, weight gain is a big one, hot flashes, and they'll make this supplement that supposedly fixes it all. Nothing works like that. Nothing that is a supplement is unfortunately going to work like that. It just can't. Might help take the edge off, as it were, but to fix it, first of all, is a false health claim, and they should be sanctioned for that. But the good side of this is that there's an increased awareness and conversation about women's health and hormones. Never a bad thing to get more information, never a bad thing to get more talking, because a rising tide, as they say, lifts all boats. So the more that we talk, the more that we discuss, the more that there's going to be doctors that are listening. You're going to start asking questions. So it's great. And I'm really appreciative of it, but you also have to be aware of the scams. So let's talk about something that I mentioned at the very beginning, apple cider vinegar. The claims around apple cider vinegar, and Pam McNeil, I think that's her name, the doctor or whatever she is out of like Australia or New Zealand or something like that. She has a massive, massive following. And whatever, Barbara O'Neill, whatever Barbara says is treated like gold. And apple cider vinegar has been around for a long time. It's actually a good product. I mean, it's a great form of vinegar if you need to use vinegar for something. But there's a lot of claims. Balances blood sugar, helps digestion, boosts weight loss. I mean, you hear it all the time. If it actually worked, the medical community, the pharmaceutical community would have made a medication out of it. I can tell you that right now. They're not stupid. Everybody talks about big pharma and how they make all this money. Well, how do you think they make money? They find things like apple cider vinegar that might be working, and they make it into a medication. So the mere fact that ACV has not been used as a medicinal pretty much tells you that it probably doesn't do much. Now, I'm not saying that it's bad, although apple cider vinegar is an acid. And if you do it all the time, it can cause some GI distress. It can cause more reflux in some people and can cause heartburn. So, you want to be aware of that. Also, if you're doing it every single day, it could work the enamel on your teeth, could cause some mouth sensitivity. But let's look at the science. Can it actually help balance your blood sugar? Well, first of all, your body already balances your blood sugar. That's what your body does, unless you have diabetes. Obviously, that's a completely different issue. But I'm talking about in a normal functioning endocrine patient with a normal pancreas, you know, decent weight, maybe overweight, but not like morbidly obese. Um, can it help blunt glucose spikes? There is some small evidence that if you take apple cider vinegar before you eat, that it could potentially blunt your glucose spike. But that's obviously a grand generalization. It's not going to work for everybody. The reality is, if you're 50 pounds overweight, apple cider vinegar is not going to make you lose 50 pounds. And in my opinion, if you're taking it before a meal, the chances are it might give you a little bit of an irritation in your stomach. So maybe you won't eat as much because your stomach is more irritated. Now, I know this may cause some grief for some people because apple cider vinegar is one of those things that people really love. And I'm not saying don't use it. If you like it and you want to use it and you find that it's giving you some beneficial result, then by all means use it. It could also help some people with their gut microbiome, which is never a bad thing, but it's not a miracle cure. And it's definitely not going to help you balance your hormones. There isn't one study that shows that taking apple cider vinegar does anything to your hormones. And I will challenge anybody, if you want to follow me on TikTok and send me research. Most of the time, anytime these companies will use a research article or some sort of science backed thing, they'll pop up a study. Now, it's only usually on the screen for about 3 seconds, so you don't even see it. But if you freeze frame it and you look it up, which is what I do all the time, you'll find that the study had like 9 people in it. Well, I could find 9 people that could rub dog crap on their face and say that it helped their wrinkles. That's just the way it is. 9 people, it does not make a study. You need thousands of people. You need a double-blinded controlled study, meaning you've got people that use apple cider vinegar and people that use a placebo, and nobody knows what they're getting, and they're randomized. And then you're checking their blood sugars. You're making sure that they're paired with somebody that's similar. So if you have a 180-pound person on placebo, you have to have a 180-pound person on the other side that's taking the apple cider vinegar, and then you statistically analyze the data and you find that it's statistically significant. Most of these papers do not show any of that. And the thing is, people will go on PubMed and they just think because it's on PubMed that it's a legitimate study. PubMed it's kind of like a dumping ground for crap studies. And for probably every good study that's out there on PubMed, there's about 20 that are total garbage. It's a free for all. So PubMed to me doesn't mean anything. And I love it when PubMed or people use PubMed. Well, I found this on PubMed. Well, okay, but you actually have to look at the study. Just because it's on PubMed doesn't mean anything. So the good side or the risks of apple cider vinegar, we talked about some of the potential science. As I talked about, tooth enamel erosion, stomach irritation. Some people can get ulcers. I mean, if you use it all the time. So the verdict for me with apple cider vinegar is that might help some, not a magic bullet. If you want to use it because you like it, if you feel it helps you, then by all means go ahead and do it. But just don't fall prey to the false marketing. Something else I'd like to talk about is seed cycling. Seed cycling is an interesting topic. The basic concept of seed cycling is that you eat certain seeds through your luteal, your follicular phase, meaning the first 2 weeks of your cycle, and then you eat some different seeds. Usually, they're a combination of flax, pumpkin, sesame, sunflower, and you take a separate pack of seeds the second half of your cycle, and the claims are that it helps rebalance estrogen and progesterone. Now, I have a very good friend. Actually, I would say she's one of my best friends, and she actually sells seeds and does seed cycling and swears by it. So I have really had a lot of depth in this area because of her. I've looked into it. I would say most gynecologists would tell you that it's total garbage, but let's look at it, because seeds are actually good for you, much to the dismay of some of the scammers out there. Seed oils are not bad for you. Obviously, these are naturally occurring seeds, so you get the lignans, which are the phytoestrogens, and you'll get the fiber, and then they have a good oil inside of them. So the science for seeds and seed cycling, the seeds contain lignans, fiber, and the nutrients for overall general health. So not a bad thing. I think eating some seeds every day could actually be beneficial for most people. You have to be careful though, because I did an experiment for myself when this was just with peanuts, but I grabbed a handful of peanuts and I looked at the back of the container to look at the nutrition, and I was like, oh, this is 170 calories. Well, then I put the seeds on or my peanuts on a food scale, and I actually had 2.5 servings in my palm. So theoretically, I was using about 400 calories, and I thought it was 170. So you can overdo it on these foods. So you just want to be careful. Most of the time when you're doing seed cycling, the amount of seeds that you're eating is pretty small. So the caloric aspect of it isn't a big deal. Um, there are no strong clinical studies showing that they balance hormones. And balancing hormones, while I have my book is about balancing hormones, the GYN community is going to tell you that hormones are never balanced. And I think what they get caught up on is the word balance, because your cycle is always going up and down. Your estrogen peaks in the first half of your cycle, progesterone in the second half of your cycle. So they're always going up and down. So they're never technically balanced. But some women, when they are in that imbalance phase, don't feel good. And so I always try to get women to focus more on the symptoms that they're having and hope that they found a physician that actually is interested in looking at their numbers, where they're at, combining that with their symptoms to see if they can help. I think overall, another piece of this puzzle with seeds is that they can be a part of a healthy diet. We know this. So there's nothing wrong with taking seeds. And I know many women that have told me that they did the seed cycling and their cycle came back. They had PCOS or they were having irregular cycles. They tried the seed cycling and their cycle came back. My guess, beyond the potential science of seed cycling, is that when you added that to your regimen, you probably started eating better because you were probably on a quest for health. That's how you found seed cycling. And so you're eating better. You might maybe started exercising, and it probably wasn't just one thing. It was probably a combination of all those things. There are some smaller studies that show seed cycling can be beneficial. Again, the verdict is that it's completely harmless and could be beneficial health-wise by eating seeds, but it's not a replacement for hormonal therapy. Like, you couldn't eat enough seeds to change your hormones. If you did, again, the pharmaceutical community would have made a medication out of this stuff. So I say go ahead and try it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with giving things a shot and seeing if you can, if you like it. And some of these seed cycling companies, like my friends, there's different packets for each of those parts of your cycle. They come, already pre-mixed for you. All you got to do is take a couple of tablespoons. You can mix it into a smoothie, or you can just eat them off the spoon. And again, not bad for you at all. Could be a completely beneficial addition to your regimen. Is it going to fix all your problems? Probably not. But again, not hurting you, relatively inexpensive, and health benefits are there because we know seeds are good for you. Let's do a quick, brief take on some of the things that are out there on the TikTok trends. I searched TikTok. I had Maddie, my office manager, go ahead and look at some of these, and then she brought them to me, and I picked out 4 that I see all the time. And I wanted to talk about them because I think some of these phrases catch you. It's called a hook. The hook is the line, the verbiage that they use to hook you, to get you to start listening to the video. And then usually they'll make that comment like, type seed cycling in the comments to get my book on seed cycling, which is more than likely something they did AI generated. It's not like they wrote it. And I mean, I did that with perimenopause. I have a like a 40-page book on perimenopause. If you go to my Instagram page and you tag perimenopause, I'm not selling anything, and it's free. It's just more for your information. But a lot of these people will use these to hook you. You'll get the free book, and obviously there's a sale there. And they will use sham science or cherry picked studies from PubMed, as I talked about before, that back their claims. Whether or not it actually helps is really determined by you. So the first phrase, balance your hormones naturally in 30 days. Way oversimplified. Obviously, you can see that something so simple can't be taken into one sentence. A woman's hormones control the communication from the brain to the ovaries, to your adrenal glands, to your endocrine system, your pancreas. It's a very intricate system. And to just say that a supplement is going to balance your hormone naturally in 30 days, come on, you can obviously see that that's a little bit oversimplified. And then what those supplements usually are, in my opinion, is the kitchen sink that I call of supplements, meaning they put in about 35 ingredients. None of them can be in a medicinal amount because you can't put 35 things into a small capsule and not have it be the size of your head. So they give you just a whisper of everything. And what they'll do is they'll take like something like Vitex, which is chase tree berry. And we know that Vitex can help progesterone production in some women, but you have to take it in a medicinal dose, and they'll just put a little bit in there. So then they'll post a study that Vitex helps with progesterone balance, but they didn't give you near enough to do that. So they'll throw the kitchen sink at you. They'll put in as many ingredients as they can, again, to confuse you, to make you feel like, oh my God, this thing is like got everything. Well, that's actually bad. That's why I tend to use companies that have either small numbers of ingredients, or even better, if I can find a company that's pure, like endurance products, that my dihydroberberine, that's all it has in the capsule is dihydroberberine, or maca, which I use feminescence because it's just maca. So they can put enough in there to really give you the benefit. Another thing, cycle syncing, changing your workouts so that you work out certain ways during certain parts of your cycle, that you eat a certain way during parts of your cycle. The people that I know that are out there talking about it, I respect a couple of them, and they talk about this all the time. My personal opinion is the best workout is going to be the workout. I don't really care what you do, when you do it in your cycle, because the best thing you can do is move your body. And what happens is women get so confused that they have to do a certain thing during a certain part of their cycle that they just end up not even doing the workout because they're too confused. And the information is, in my opinion, this is one of those times when, if it sounds difficult, it's because this person is trying to make themselves sound like they discovered something that nobody else has discovered. They get asked to come on the podcasts because it's a new thing, and then everybody takes it for gold that that's the way you have to do it. I wouldn't personally lock yourself into that mindset. I think it's a very restrictive mindset. I think it might be for maybe women that are endurance athletes that really have their workouts already dialed in. But if you're one of those people that's going from the couch to working out just do whatever works for you. Get out there, walk, go with your friends, play pickleball. To me, that's a workout. And it doesn't have to be at a certain part of your cycle. The two biggies out there that I think are a plague, if you will, are the people out there, and it's usually somebody that has absolutely no medical background. It's some stay-at-home mom with 550,000 followers. And when you get that big, because I'm getting close to 100,000 myself, you start realizing that you can monetize this. You can make money doing this. And so what they'll do is they'll start selling detox teas and parasite cleanses. These are two of the biggest scams on the planet. Detox teas are a complete waste of time. Again, for the same reason as the seed cycling and the balance your hormones naturally. There might be some proof that certain tinctures or teas can help with certain hormonal issues, but a tea bag or two of these herbs isn't really going to give you enough. If you really want to work with herbs and you really want to work with teas, then I would go see an actual Chinese medicine specialist or somebody that has 6 years of training in these herbs, that they know exactly what to use. They know how much to use. If you want to make the tea naturally, you can go to a Chinese medicine store. We have one here in Austin that sells actually the herbs, not these little pellets that you can buy from the Chinese medicine store, but they actually give you the herbs. You can go home and actually make the tea. And you probably need to make it strong, not just one little tea bag. I used to love Celestial Seasonings, the tea they make called Red Zinger. When I was younger, I used to play Dungeons and Dragons, and we'd stay up all night and we would drink Red Zinger. I know I'm a total nerd, but I liked it because I liked it. And now when I drink it, it gives me a good feeling because I remember my childhood, and, flavors and smells can kind of bring you back to where you were. But detox teas are mostly a complete scam. One thing that is a total scam is a parasite cleanse. I have patients do these all the time. They spend thousands of dollars on these mythical parasites. Now, we all have parasites, but unless you have traveled to India or, some part of Mexico and you're eating food from the market that you just don't know what's in it, you could pick up some weird parasite. I went to Mexico and got Shigella. But even in those cases, 95% of the time, your body's going to clear these parasites on its own. That's what your body does. And unless you have a tapeworm or a hookworm or something weird like that, a cleanse isn't going to do anything. You should just take something like mebendazole and get rid of it on your own with a medication. But these parasite cleanses, what they do is now everything's a parasite. If you notice, artists and all these other chiropractors are out there talking about how cancer is caused by a parasite, and you know everything is parasite driven. And what they do is they come at you based on fear. You have a parasite, you're going to get cancer. All you have to do is join my 2-week course, do my parasite cleanse, and you'll feel better. And what happens is they give you things that make you basically poop more. And so you feel like you're pooping out all this stuff. And then what they do is they give you, usually it's some sort of a bulking agent. So you'll poop out like a bunch of mucus or these long like threads, and you'll think that's a parasite. I can't tell you how many pictures I've seen from people that put it on TikTok or whatever, that they pooped out this parasite, and it's not a parasite. It's just mucus from your colon. And they then go on and sell tens of thousands of dollars on this garbage product, but it's a trick. It's a gimmick. And they're scamming the women for millions and millions of dollars every year with these stupid parasite cleanses. The other one I wanted to talk about, and this was a trend more about 2 years ago. You'd walk downtown, you'd see all these people wearing this big white patch on their arm, and they would put it so you could see it because, it's cool. And it's a continuous glucose monitor. And the reason that it's a scam is because the only person that needs a glucose monitor is a diabetic. especially like a child who's at school and they need to constantly monitor their glucose levels. What these people were saying is, oh, you can eat your diet during the day and you can see what foods spike your glucose. There's some great accounts out there that are actually testing this. Like they'll eat peanut butter or they'll eat some big sandwich, and there is no glucose spike. It's a total gimmick. The nominee for Surgeon General, Casey Means, was one of these scammers, which is one reason I didn't support her as Surgeon General. She was selling glucose monitors, and this is what happens. These companies are smart. They know that if they go to these micro influencers, people like me, and they say, well, the glucose monitor costs $50. If you sell it to your patients, we'll give you $20 for each monitor you sell. So somebody with 500,000 followers probably going to sell 2,000 of those monitors. They're going to make freaking $40,000. It's a quick way for them to make money. You buy this stupid glucose monitor, you probably use it for 2 or 3 weeks, and then you never use it again. It's not really going to help move the gauge towards your health. And that's my opinion. I think it's a total waste of time and money. The overarching theme with these things is just because it's natural or trending doesn't mean it's effective or safe. I can't tell you how many times my fiance's daughters want to go try some cookie place or want to do some food or some skincare thing that they saw on TikTok, and they go buy it and they think it tastes horrible or it doesn't work, but they bought it. And if a million people go do that, the company's made a heck of a lot of money. So just because, this is the other thing I see, just because somebody, unfortunately, the trend is that the more followers you have, you must be an authority on it. And I will tell you, most of the time, the people that have a lot of followers aren't medically trained, because us medical folks, if we have ethics, aren't going to go out there and promote a bunch of garbage. So, but the people with no ethics, the people that just want to make money because this is their job, will say whatever they have to say to sell things. I'm talking to you, Dave Asprey. But that's beside the point. So what actually works? We've talked about some trends that are a waste of money, but what actually works? Foundational hormone health strategies that are backed by evidence. It is good to have a decent blood sugar, meaning a fasting glucose level below 100, a hemoglobin A1C that's not above 6, strength and training movements. Lifting weights is a great thing. 2 to 3 days a week. The more muscle you have usually tracks with the longer you live. Muscle equals longevity. There's absolutely nothing wrong with strength training. I think women have a fear that they're going to get buff, that they're going to look too big. Women tone, women build muscle slowly. You're not going to get huge like a guy unless you're taking male amounts of hormones. Sleep and stress. Sleep is, in my opinion, probably one of the most important things that you can do for your health. Sleep is probably one of the things that plagues 80% of women in perimenopause and menopause. Sleep is super important. Now, there are a couple of supplements that can help with sleep. One of my favorites is hops. Hops is what they make beer out of. It's actually the flower of the plant that helps with sleep. I don't know the exact mechanism of action, but I've gotten a lot of women off of Ambien using hops. Hops is like $9. So worst case scenario, you're out $9 if it doesn't work. But I have a lot of women that love it and it's cheap. So sleep is super important. Progesterone is obviously the hormone that helps with sleep. Taking Vitex isn't going to help with sleep. Melatonin can certainly help with sleep. There's some conflicting data out there. Should you take melatonin long term? I do. Melatonin's a great antioxidant. The Nurses Health study showed that women that worked third shifts had higher rates of breast cancer. The thought process being that their melatonin is screwed up, and the melatonin, being an antioxidant, protects against cancer. And so maybe they were thinking that that might be why they had a higher rate of cancer. And then lastly, the big gun for what actually works is the actual hormones. I have women all the time saying, I really don't want to take a medication, and they don't want to go on hormones. Well, don't think of hormones as a medication. I mean, it is. We have to prescribe it. But these are things that were naturally occurring in your body. These things have been in your body your entire reproductive life. And if you're using a bioidentical hormone, it looks structurally similar to the hormone that you had in your body your entire life. So I wouldn't look at that as like, it's different than ibuprofen or Tylenol or acetaminophen, because those are foreign to your body. That's why they can have kidney problems, liver problems. The hormones that are naturally occurring in your body, you've had those. And so just getting you, that's why I say, as long as you're in that normal range and you're not 3 to 5 times the norm, those medications are, if you want to think about them, natural in a way. I mean, they look similar to your body's hormones. So let's wrap this up. Friends come and go, but your health is more important. And there are no quick fixes. That's the overarching theme here. Any supplement that claims a fix, a quick fix, oh, you just take this, you're going to be better, probably won't live up to its claims. The problem is these companies aren't regulated by anybody. They can say whatever they want. And unless somebody's reporting them over and over again, the FTC, the FDA, they're not going to get involved. And so these companies know this, and they can make these trends, and they'll use the terminology possibly, may, they'll fudge so that they're not making an actual health claim, but then they'll throw in the words may help with glucose metabolism, may help with hot flashes. And you're desperate because you're not getting help from your doctor. You're desperate because you have no other options. So you're on the internet at 2 a.m. searching for a help, and you're willing to try anything. Again, overall, most of these things probably won't hurt you, but do you need to spend thousands of dollars for a parasite cleanse? If you sit down and actually think about it, it makes no logical sense that this 22-year-old is selling you a parasite cleanse is ridiculous. I'm sorry, it's flat out ridiculous. So please, please, please share this episode with somebody that's important to you that might be falling prey to these TikTok hacks. Follow me on Substack, Shawn Tassone MD. Follow me on Instagram. I'm on Facebook as well for those of you, and obviously YouTube, which some of you are hearing this right now on YouTube. Get a copy of the Hormone Balance Bible. I talk a lot about supplements in there as well for each of the hormone imbalances that is actually scientifically entrenched. I don't promote things that don't really have science behind them, or at least the ingredients do. And then keep tuning in to Confessions of a Male Gynecologist, where I'm here. If you follow me on YouTube or Instagram, please comment, leave questions. I do a Q&A every Saturday on Instagram. Probably get 100 questions that I try to answer. So a ton of free information. I'm thinking about you. I'm in your corner. And I will talk to you next week. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram at Shawn Tassone MD, or on Twitter at Tassone Doc, and on Facebook at America's Holistic Gynecologist. If you're really interested in your hormones and you want to do a deep dive, get my book, The Hormone Balance Bible, on Amazon or other major retailers. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.